Welcome to Music Matters 2020. I am your host, Jason Tramm. Thank you for joining us for the launch of our new video podcast as we explore important events and topics happening in the musical landscape today, as seen through the eyes of distinguished members of the artistic community. Like many artists, I wear and have worn many artistic hats in my 20-year career. As a conductor and music director, I have worked in opera and with many choral and symphonic ensembles. I am currently a professor at Seton Hall University, a church musician, currently serving as director of music ministries for the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association. I have also served as a music educator in the public schools, and am currently in demand as an artistic consultant. In all of these endeavors, I have strived and thrived on the diversity of music and the colleagues that I'm constantly surrounded by. And my interactions and conversations with these colleagues and audience members have always been particularly rewarding and inspiring. On Music Matters 2020, we pull back the curtain and you join the conversation. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed all of society, and the artistic community must grapple with issues that have never been faced before in our lifetimes. On this podcast, we will talk with artists who are making a difference in the cultural landscape of today. Please like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube and click that bell for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topic. Please share with your friends and colleagues, and we encourage you to use the chat feature during our YouTube live broadcasts. We want you to join in this conversation. Tonight, we're going to explore the theme of collaboration. Collaboration has always formed the cornerstone for all musical interactions, and in this post-COVID musical landscape, I believe that strategic partnerships and innovative collaboration will be critical in reestablishing live music in our society. I find it incredibly ironic that in a time of quarantine and isolation, colleagues are reaching out and forming bonds that will drive innovation in the performing arts forward in the months and years to come. I am delighted to welcome our guest tonight, Stefanos Koroneos, to the conversation. Stefanos is a Greek-born bass baritone, active for many years in the opera and classical concert scene, both in the United States and internationally. He has more recently become the artistic director of Teatro Grattacielo in New York City, an opera company with a 25-year history of presenting rarely heard Verismo gems in concert. He is also instrumental in the founding of Camerata Bardi Vocal Academy, which launched during this COVID-19 quarantine and recently had a very successful virtual concert. We welcome Stefanos to Music Matters 2020. It's great to have you with us tonight. Where are you calling in from? Well, we're delighted that you can join us tonight. So tell us about your unique artistic journey. I know that you were born in Greece, but tell us your journey that brought you from Greece all the way to the United States.
Becoming a person singer, and
Wonderful. What a journey that is, coming from Greece to Italy and being absorbed in the operatic community. Tell us some of the traditions you learned from the your Italian training. We're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties with Skype tonight. The gods of the internet are not being kind. We're going to have Stefanos dial in again as we're having connectivity issues on the Skype calls. This is part of the nature of telecommunications, and we're at the whims of the internet. So Stefanos is going to dial in and join us in 1 second. We have a question from someone from our audience. We have Lisa from Jacksonville, Florida, who's going to ask Stefanos what is the hardest role that he's ever had to learn. And I look forward to delving into that. Sure. I think we're back again. So tell me about your training in Italy. Do you want to give us some of your mentors, some of the people who inspired you most along your journey?
Baritone, and the art of the language.
So as a buffo basso, which you're quite known for these days, did you start in the buffo repertoire? Did you start in other repertoire and eventually evolve into that repertoire?
Lots of so
I think that's very important. As artists, we're always reevaluating ourselves and where we are in our careers, and then forging new paths. I know for me, I was originally a tenor and wanted to be a singer, and then I made the role of conductor, and eventually it fit. And I think that's very interesting for some of our younger viewers who might be interested today. That what you have your heart set on right now, the journey is a long artistic journey ahead of us. So I think it's a good lesson, certainly. So in this buffo repertoire, you talked about tradition. I don't think there is a harder repertoire, a category of singing than the buffo repertoire. What are some of the challenges in this buffo repertoire? Stefanos, can you
to deliver lots very short time. How do you take? Hello.
We're having connectivity issues. Can you dial in again, Stefanos? Can you call us again?
Absolutely.
Call us back, and we'll get a better connection. As Stefanos is dialing back in, we were talking about the challenge of the buffo repertoire, and there's a lot of challenges in this style. I think it's one of the most difficult in the canon because of the absolute number of words and the fluency and level of language skill that one must have. So we're going to talk about that with Stefanos when he dials right back in. Hopefully the gods of the internet are kind and we get a good, solid connection, because Stefanos always has so much to say, and he's such a vivid performing artist and has such a unique interpretive ability for comedy. I think I hear the ringtone of Skype coming. Take this moment to remind our audience to be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube, as we're We're going to be doing 2 of these a week. We're going to do 2 podcasts a week. Next one, it will be with Julia Zilberquit. That's next Tuesday at 2:00 p.m. That's Tuesday, June 9th at 2:00 p.m. And that'll be Julia Zilberquit, an internationally acclaimed concert pianist, very active in the international scene. I think I hear Stefanos joining us again. Do we have you on the line, Stefanos? I hear the call. Another question from our audience, I hear. Mark from Norfolk, Virginia asks, how do you find audiences in Europe different than the audience in the United States? Certainly an important question, and I look forward to delving into this. If we have any other artists on the line, do we have any questions about how is COVID-19 affecting you and your performing career? Or if you're an amateur performer, how is it connecting what you're up to these days as a chorister? Or I'm just curious to hear how this pandemic has affected you individually. I think I hear you clearly now. Hopefully the gods of the internet are being kind. And I apologize for that, but I think all of us are on the internet more than we've ever been in our lives before. And this is...
I can tell you I have never been.
Well, I know every meeting now is a Zoom meeting or a Skype meeting, and every concert is virtual. So the internet is so important to all of our lives, 24/7.
Right now.
So we were delving into the buffo repertoire and what that means. Describe the level of tradition that goes into becoming a buffo professional artist.
You have to first of all this number one. The buffo doesn't maybe you don't look like a.
And having worked with you, the opening of the segment, we had a recording of you singing that famous buffo role from Barber of Seville. It's one I always enjoy watching you perform that because you are such a funny actor, and the level of language connected with your drama is truly extraordinary, and it's just a joy to be around. Well, Stefanos, knowing you for many years now, you approach everything the best you can do, and always with a positive attitude. It's a joy to work with you in any avenue we've worked. I have a question from one of our people chatting. Lisa from Jacksonville, Florida said, "What's the hardest role you've ever had to learn?"
Even though I do speak my Italian,
So
a lot of
being a professional
linguistic
opera singer for many
ability.
years, do you still study? How do you keep your skills sharp, and how do you keep yourself always learning?
That's, I do have a teacher once in a while. Because I've been kind when I'm at home.
So, what are some of your favorite roles? Or you have roles you've performed most in your career?
Barber of Seville, the opera, Don Bartolo, the role that I did also with you. Dulcamara in Elisir d'Amore, Don Magnifico in Cenerentola, Dandini in Cenerentola, that I did in Columbus. I loved really singing that role. And another role that gives me a lot of satisfaction is the sacristan in Tosca. And I must say that I must have done at least 120 performances all over the world.
Wonderful repertoire, wonderful core of great repertoire, especially Italian comedic roles from the bel canto period. Beautiful.
Right.
So tell me about your new endeavors as an artistic administrator. Tell me how that came to be and where that is in your career and how you balance your schedule between performing and administrating.
So this happened very, very organically. I have been singing with Teatro Catacello character roles and covering for them for a long time. And I came to become friends with Dwayne Prince, who was the founder and the general director of the company. The phase in my life. So she offered me the possibility to be artistic administrator, to help her, in other words, a little bit with the administrative work that I was craving so much to learn. And what we did last year, the 20th concert, we got together. That she was happy, and it was time for her to part of the company, and she asked me if I wanted to be that person, and of course I was delighted and very excited to do it. And good thing about this company is that we don't have a performance schedule, to my career as a Plus, we all know that now with technology, everything is possible from anywhere around the world. So, you can run a company from cut. I don't know.
That's
wonderful. And then come back. Yeah.
So yeah, it's true that we can wear many hats concurrently, but we all have to divide ourselves in those ways. But if I know you, you'll find a way to do both brilliantly. We have a question from Jack from New Jersey, and that's when did your musical journey first take off? When did you know your career was taking off and you were really onto something special?
My especially for me, it happened when I went to do an audition in Parma with Fondazione Toscanini. They were having one of those young artist programs where they were specifically looking for people to do Merry Widow. And again, I went as a dramatic baritone because I was hoping for the big part, for Danilo. And the conductor of this opera, that unfortunately is not between us anymore, Massimo De Bernard, was a very famous personality back then in Italy, in the opera world, a very famous conductor, and he offered me the part of Barone Zeta, and in front of everybody in that audition told me, "I cannot wait to hear you in Buffo roles." And that's the moment that I knew that something was going on in my career. Then few days after, I went to Rossini Opera Festival. I auditioned. I got accepted. I knew that I was starting something that I didn't have before. So it was the moment when I was not only a student anymore, a young hopeful, but certain doors were
Well, we never
opening
forget
for
those
me.
mentors who guide our way and make those decisions. And I often I tell my students at the university that you may not know who that person is at the time, and you may not even understand what they're saying. But when these
Right.
people make those choices and you kind of follow that path, sometimes magic happens.
Absolutely, and I have a story about that. I met one of my mentors exactly like this. Stefanos Koroneos. I was in a competition, and I won this competition. He was in the jury, and I sang a dramatic baritone aria, and I did not pass even the first round. I was so upset, and I was leaving the theater, and he called me, and he said, "What do you call yourself?" And I said, "Well, I call myself a young dramatic baritone, or maybe a young Verdi baritone. I have good notes, good high notes, good low notes." And he said, "Yeah, you were very dramatic." But he said, "I don't think so." And he said, "Listen, you don't have it. You just don't have it. It's not you. Do character roles. This is my telephone number. Whenever think about it, I go home, drink a couple of beers, some wine, think about it, and if you think you want to do something else with your life, come back."
Well,
And
and here you are
that's what I
today,
did.
and having much success, and now passing your knowledge on to the next generation, which I think is incredibly important. We had a question from Charles from Greenwich Village, and this is going to go into your artistic administrator hat and Teatro Graticello's repertoire focus. What is the importance of the lesser-known Verismo repertoire, and what can it tell us about the standard pieces in the operatic question? Thank you very much, Charles. That is a very astute question. I can't wait to hear Stefanos answer it.
Yes. So certain operas that we have presented these 27 years with Pedro Vertacello are operas that when they were written, they had a certain success. Some of them had a lot of success. And there were operas for logistic reasons or for historical reasons or because we all know that the biggest crowd, the biggest opera lover crowd, or the people who go to the opera, they want to hear, the famous tunes from Puccini's La Bohème, but nobody knows that, for example, Leoncavallo wrote a Bohème that is as charming and as beautiful as the one from Puccini. So some of this repertoire has had a very, let's say, historic meaning when they were created, and obviously the themes of these operas were more important. The stories, let's say, the storytelling was more important when they were written than now. But let's not forget that these operas are a piece of history, are the operas that they made the opera world what is right now. They are part of the history and the patrimony of the opera world. And I must say that some of these operas are extremely beautiful. For example, this year in October, we will be doing Giordano's Fedora. Giordano's Fedora is one of those operas that is not done very much, but who approaches this opera and learns about the story and and hears the tunes and the music and dives into the score, finds out that it's a great gem and really worthy to be performed way more in
Well, that's
the
wonderful.
theater.
Thank you so much for telling us about that, to dive into Verismo and to important lesser-known pieces, because I always find that the lesser-known works shed lights on the famous ones in a different way than we might have thought originally. So it always gives us new information. And Giordano's Fedora is certainly, we know some of the arias have become famous, but the entire opera will be very important and groundbreaking.
Right. And I must say, I have learned so much during these years that I have been with Gratacello because, as a young singer, I never sang any of this except Alcindoro Benoit and Bohème. I have never really had any exposure and of course Sacrestano in Tosca. I didn't really have any exposure in verismo, especially in rare verismo. And at the beginning, for me, it was a learning experience, was a journey, and I was very, very curious about these operas. And I must say that there is a lot
I
of
agree.
beauty.
I happen to have a soft spot in my heart for Teatro Graticello because my mentor, Alfredo Filippini, was your founding conductor, and I spent a lot of time working with
Oh
Maestro
yes.
Filippini as chorus master, then as assistant conductor, and he's made a very important part of my artistic journey. So I'm rooting for this company with all my heart. So good luck with
Yes.
your current season and with your plans forward. Speaking of your plans forward, you were discussing with me some very interesting things, that the way you're using technology to move forward. How is this COVID pandemic forcing organizations like Teatro Graticello to innovate?
Number one, companies right now are dealing with digitality and digital technology and digital marketing. Well, digital marketing has been around for a while in the opera world, but now more than ever we need digital technology. We need to have it available, and we need to figure out how can we use it um, to better serve also the opera world. What do I mean by that? I mean that when we don't have the possibility to get together in a theater, to have an orchestra, to have a chorus, to have what we knew until 2 months ago, what do we do? Do we stop, or do we go on and we figure out other ways to perform? And I was very happy to see so many companies stepping up in that, like Dallas Opera, who has this very, very, very popular and famous podcasts that they are being seen for like something like 18,000 people per day, or other companies who have figured out ways to deal with technology. And that's what we are doing too. Number one, we are launching our very first competition, because Grattacielo, you should know, is known for helping young artists. That's number one. We have always had a healthy mix of young artists and seasoned professionals, and we have launched a lot of careers, a lot of opera careers in the United States. So we thought it was very important right now that young artists and young singers have something to look forward to. We're launching all online competition where singers can submit 2 videos, recent videos, of course, of themselves. And we have a world-class jury of agents and casting directors and singers from all over the world judging them. We have prizes, and we have future contracts with Teatro Grattacielo and other things that we will be announcing very soon. Second, because we know that by October, theaters and orchestras they're not going to be able to get together, and we will not be able to be in the theater. We decided that instead of canceling Fedora, we will be filming it. So we have hired a TV crew that is specialized in performances, and we will be without public filming Fedora. And this, of course, in other words, means that singers who have lost so much work, they get to work, the singers that we have casted for this opera. So we're going to film, and we're going to stream it in several outlets throughout October. And then we have another event happened in November, always again, YouTube Live, between us and the Associazione Beniamino Gigli in Italy, in Recanati, where Beniamino Gigli was born. We are going to celebrate the 100 years of his debut at the Met as Faust in Boitos Mephistopheles. We will have another event that's going to be all technology.
Oh, bravo! There's some wonderful innovation there. And did I hear that this competition will be one of the first purely virtual competitions ever in the history of this region?
Yeah, I mean, a classical singer this year did a competition, from what I hear, all online. And I mean, there have been around in the world competitions that were made online, but not at this scale. What I mean by that is that, most of the competitions are done in person, and nothing can take away of the beauty of listening somebody live. Let's be honest. But in the meantime, we thought it was important that young singers who don't have anything to look forward to have something that gives them a little bit of hope, that gets them back to study and back to get busy to do a competition, to be heard, to be exposed to
To be
opera professionals.
recognized and to have that encouragement is so important for the next generation, especially in this time of isolation. I think we're all there. I think we're all kind of in shock, and we're all looking for that next chapter. And what else do you have to tell to people who may be home, artists who are home, who've lost so much work, who are maybe in despair? How can we as a society? What do you think are the next steps to regaining live classical music?
Yes, that's I love this question. And I want to go back a little bit. When all this happened, I was in a Zoom meeting with a lot of casting directors and opera admins from all over the world. And somebody said, we're going to lose a couple of generations of singers. And I said to myself, no, no. It's up to us not to lose anybody. It's up to us to make to find ways to get it going. That means, of course, innovate. That means get get uh, um, get your message out, get your voice out, get whatever it is that you have that you want to get out in new ways. Are these ways the best ways available? Maybe not. Are these videos that everybody's putting around on Facebook of the best quality as sound or image? Maybe not. But guess what? It's better than closing everything and be depressed and losing
I'm with you.
any hope.
I'm with you. When
So
I
yes, yes, yes to the technical difficulties. I'm sorry. Yes to technical difficulties. Yes to bumps. It's through these difficulties we learn and that we
Well, these
involve.
bumps and these difficulties are going to be the way for a couple months as we claw our way back. I know in my own experience, I work with a lot of different groups and with people, both amateurs and professionals, and I find that everyone wants to find that way. And I find the more that we try and the more that we reach out and the more that we collaborate, how do you think collaboration is going to help us move this, advance this ball forward?
It is extremely important. Um, I started as a singer in Italy, in Europe in general, but mostly in Italy. In Italy, co-productions was and these are, from what I understand, still the norm. So five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 companies, or maybe two or three, would put together resources and they would put together a production that it would travel. So and I mean, I have done so many of these co-productions, and it was great because you could see that companies really would collaborate, uh, and the end result was always great. I do believe in that, and I am actually working into making it happen with a couple of
Well, there are
companies
so many.
in New York.
In the ideal collaboration, we take two fine artists, put them together, and the collaborative effect increases the artistic output, and that's the goal.
Of course, of course, of course. And it has to do with open-mindedness, you know? Are you open-minded to not to say, oh, there is nobody like me, and I'm doing my own thing, and nobody else can, come close to me, or you want maybe to collaborate and find ways to make art and
Are you
music
saying that
happen
there's difficult
together with others.
personalities in the opera world?
I mean, in everything, in the typical personalities, not only in the opera world. I must say that we opera people are lovely, are great people, and we have a great sense of humor. And now more than ever, I discover how many wonderful people are around. Maybe people that before, because I was so busy traveling constantly and being on the move all the time, I never paid attention. But yeah, opera world is full of
People who dedicate
incredible people.
themselves tirelessly to their craft, because we're never finished. We're always exploring new repertoire, learning new roles, putting ourselves in front of people all the time, and getting used to dealing with a lot of criticism. And I think that my experience is just like yours. I always keep the positive outlook, and some people may be difficult, but moving on, we look for the best, and we try to find the best in everyone. That's where true collaboration comes from.
Absolutely, absolutely,
So
100% with
tell
you
me
in that.
about what do you think the next generation of singers needs to know?
Number one, I think that young singers need to know what makes them special. Number two, young singers will have to adapt to new realities. And number three, that's very important. In order for opera to survive, it has to be somehow more connected to everyone. And that means a lot of new operas or a lot of new ideas, or maybe a way of presenting all the repertoire in a new way. I hear many times people talking about the golden ages of 50s and 40s and 60s, and they keep talking and going on and on and on about this era. This era is not here anymore. So there is a new era, and this era has other possibilities, has other needs. It's a more technologically driven era. It's a more it has other ideology in a certain way. So what do? Do we sit and talk about that baritone that in the 50s sang that role, or do we see how we as a performance make opera accessible to everybody in
I
the
think
today
the
world?
great art of yesterday can teach us so much about ourselves, both now and moving forward. And I agree with you. Making opera current, making it part of today's society, making it feel like it's to audiences as it's important, is going to be crucial moving forward. So thank you so much for your words, Stefanos. And with your energy and with your positive spirit, I see you being as one of the agents of change moving forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Like I said before, I do it with lots of love. And, obviously, my opinions are my opinions. I don't expect that everybody agrees with me, but I want everybody to know that I have lots of love for every performer, lots of unconditional love. So whatever I do and whatever I say is driven by that love for opera and for performing and
Well,
for
that love
arts
comes
and
through
for
in
music.
abundance, and we thank you so much. Thank you, Stefanos, for joining us on our debut podcast of Music Matters 2020. I wish you great success in the season to come and beyond. How can people follow your work coming forward?
Probably the best way to follow my work is through Teatro Grattaciello's website, grattacielo.org, or Camerata Bardi Vocal Academy, which is a young artist program between other things, which is again cameratabardi.org. And my Facebook account, I am open to everybody, Stefanos Koroneos. My website, which is the same thing, and YouTube once in a
We wish you
while.
all the best. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you to each and every member of the audience here tonight. These podcasts will be available on this channel moving forward, and you can view them and share them anytime. Our next live broadcast will be Tuesday, June 9th at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and will once again feature acclaimed concert pianist Julia Zilberquit. In these challenging times, please consider supporting the artists and organizations that you love. One way that has become current these days is through Patreon. Music Matters 22 is completely produced by me and my 4 children from our house right outside of New York City. Please consider becoming one of our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/mm2020. And please remember to subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Thank you, and remember, keep music alive.